When we talk about Social Security, what's a COLA? How does it work? How does it apply to the benefit you receive? How does it apply to future benefits? Hey guys, welcome back to Old Guy Talks Money. In today's video, we're going to talk about COLAs, the cost of living adjustment that's applied to your Social Security benefit. We're going to talk about kind of big picture how it works. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the break even, that point in time where your cumulative money that you receive from Social Security kind of exceeds at different standpoints. So we'll compare 65 to 62, 67 to 62, and even 70 to 72. And again, this will have the option where you can put in a COLA or leave out a COLA. So, want to thank everybody who's been watching the content. I really appreciate the comments. Quite honestly, this video came out of another video that I did. I did a video showing how to calculate the break even point, and that point where if you delay taking Social Security, that cumulatively you exceed taking it at an earlier date. And I had a lot of people comment and say, "What about COLAs?" Well, the fact of the matter is, and we'll kind of go through this in a minute, but COLAs lift on both sides. So my initial response to them was basically, I just don't think it matters because it's going up on both sides. But it was bothering me. You ever have one of those things where you kind of have an idea, but the more you sit with it, it just kind of, you can't let it go. And I thought, I'm going to do the math. And what I discovered was it does have an impact. And we're going to show that in a minute. So thank y'all for the engagement, leaving the comments, asking the questions. I'm going to put the things up here to do the like and subscribe. It will help me grow the channel. And let's get started. All right, so big picture. What's a COLA? Well, COLA stands for Cost of Living Adjustment. And the Social Security Administration sets the COLA every year in October. It's announced. Okay, it's based on kind of big picture now. It's based on kind of the consumer price index. That's kind of the basis for it. Sure, the math is much more complicated, probably has a square root or two in there somewhere, but that's the gist of it. It's announced in October and it applies in January. Okay, so if you're currently receiving benefits and announce it in October, your January check should go up by that amount. I want to say, and I'm doing this from memory, I'm not going to look at my notes, so y'all don't come at me if I'm wrong, but I want to say the amount that they approved for 2025 was 2.5%. I did Google it. The average COLA adjustment over the last decade was 2.6%. Okay, now obviously, when inflation was going up so rapidly, those years were much higher, but the average over the last decade was 2.6%. All right. So if you're already receiving benefits, they announce it in October, it applies in January, your check goes up. Big picture, that's how it works. I think the thing that most people don't know, and quite honestly, it was one of those things that I was like, yeah, I kind of knew this, but wasn't thinking about it, is that it actually applies to the benefit you haven't received. So what do I mean by that? If you go out to ssa.gov right now, it will tell you what your estimate's going to be, and it will show you at 62, 65, or well, 62, 67, and 70, but you can slide it. There's a little thing that you can do it at different dates, and it'll show you what you get. That's actually in today's dollars. Okay. So every year when that COLA is applied, that benefit actually will go up. If y'all guys are familiar with Joe Kuhn, he's one of the other kind of personal finance guys that I follow. I saw he just did a video coming at the kind of the same topic from a different angle. He was talking about the same thing that I was just talking about, in that when you look at your statement, it's going to show you what it is in today's dollars, but that's not going to be what it is when you actually reach that milestone, because it will have been adjusted by the COLAs. The way Joe came at this was he was talking to a lot of us people out there that keep spreadsheets, and they're predicting, how much money we're going to need. And I'm putting words in his mouth, so Joe, forgive me. But the gist of it was, if you're taking that amount and saying it's at 67, that's the amount that you're using in your spreadsheets and your calculations. his point is that that number is not going to be actually correct. Um, so again, kind of a good tie-in. Again, he's coming at it a little different than I'm coming at it because I'm actually going to show you how to calculate the break even and kind of go from there. The other thing that I think is important to point out, if you're kind of a math nerd like I am, when I was doing the research for this, we know that between 67 and 70, you get deferred retirement credits. It's essentially 8% a year. Well, you get the COLAs as well. So the way that math works is they apply the COLA to the PIA, the primary insurance amount, and then apply that deferred retirement credit. Okay. So I kind of worked through that, tried to apply that math in my spreadsheet. I will say this, it doesn't make a whole lot of difference, at least the numbers that I was playing with, but I wanted to try to make it as accurate as possible. Okay, so let's take a real quick minute and summarize where we are. COLA, cost of living adjustment. It is set in October, applied in January. It applies to the benefit you're currently receiving, and it will also apply to any future benefit, which means when you look at SSA.gov right now, it gives you an amount. That amount's going to be higher in the future based on whatever cost of living adjustment they do. Other thing I will tell you is that if you looked at my other video and you saw the break evens, what the COLA does when you apply it, it actually will shorten the break even point. And I struggle with this concept. Do you ever have one of those things where you go, I get this in my head, but I don't know if I can articulate it? So I'm going to do my best. But the way the math works is because that COLA is applied to both sides, and if you take it early, it's applied to a smaller number. Because we're applying that to a bigger number, the compounding has a bigger effect and therefore shortens the break-even point. Okay, so we'll look at this. I'll show you the spreadsheet. I'm going to make the same offer I did last time. If y'all want a copy of the spreadsheet, send me an email to oldguytalksmoney@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy to shoot you a copy of it. It's nothing fancy, just simple Excel spreadsheet. You put in two numbers. One number, you put in the amount that you're going to get, your full retirement age amount, and then you put in what you want to assume for the COLA, and it'll do the rest. Okay. All right. So let's look at the spreadsheet. All right, guys. I hope y'all can see this. Maybe get really close to your phone, really close to the TV. It's challenging when you record this because I'm looking at it and it looks giant. But I know that people consume content in different formats, be it phone, tablets, PCs, TVs, whatever. So I hope this comes through. If not, again, shoot me a email and I will send you a copy of it. All right, so here's the way this thing's designed. If you will look up, and I'm pointing right there, that $2,000 amount, that's just an assumed amount at full retirement age. This is the 70%. Okay, that's what you would get taking it at 62. I used the math based on my numbers to force this number. So I've double checked this. This is pretty darn close. And we know that if you wait till 70, you get the deferred retirement credits, 8% a year. That's that. So you put in this number and then you put in this number. Now I put in 2.6%. That's the average over the last decade, but I'm going to show you what happens when we take this out. Okay. So that's that number. All right. But what this is the annual amount that you will receive, and you'll see that it goes up every year by that 2.6%. So this is the 62 column. The 65 column, I started with this number and applied the COLA to get to this amount at 65. Okay, does that make sense? Because again, it applies both sides. Even if you're not receiving that benefit, you're still getting the uplift from the COLA. Here's your 67 amount. Here's your 70 amount. What this is doing is calculating the cumulative difference between these two numbers. Okay, so at 65, you can see till you start, this number just gets bigger and bigger because you're not drawing. All right, once you start drawing at 65, that number obviously starts going down. And where you can tell it breaks even is right here. Once these numbers become negative, that says, okay, on a cumulative basis, delaying to 65, at 75, I will have collected more on a cumulative basis. Okay, and it does that same thing for 62, 65, 67, and then to 70. Okay, and that's the way it works. Did the graph over here just because it tickled me to do it. Some people like that visual representation, But let's change this back to 0. I look at my actual spreadsheet. That might help. All right. Y'all bear with me. I'm not looking at my keyboard. There we go. All right. So at 70, let's look at the things right here. So taking it at 65, you break even during your 77th year, during your 78th year, and then down here during your 80th year. Okay. When I say 80th year, you're 80. Excuse me, age 80. She's not, you understand? Okay. So that's the break even points. Now let's go back and let's change this back. Let's see if I can do this without looking. There we go. All right. So now let's look at it. So now, see, it goes to 75, 76, then down here to 78. So it did shorten it. And again, that's because this compounding effect on these numbers have a bigger impact than the compound over here, and it shortens that length of time. Okay. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. Visual representation of where you break even. You wanted to see the total. So compared to taking it at 62, if you wait to 65 over a 30-year period, you'll have collected $123,000 more. At 67, it's $210,000 more. And then at 70, it's $345,000. Okay. All right. Before we wrap this up, I want to say this. This is a hot topic in the personal finance world because there is no right answer. Look at some of my other videos, and I've said it. Personal finance is just that. It's personal. There is no right answer. There's just a best answer for you. I am not trying to convince anybody to delay taking Social Security, nor am I trying to encourage anybody to take it sooner. What I'm trying to do is put the information out there so that you can make an informed decision, see what the impacts are, because it may change your mind. Heck, it may change your mind knowing that when I look at that statement today, now I'm 60, okay, so I plan to take Social Security at 67. Who knows? I may change my mind. Something may change in my financial profile that I go, you know what, I'll take it at 62 or 65. But knowing now that that number is going to be bigger does change my perspective somewhat, because, in my spreadsheet, and Joe Kuhn was right, I'm a spreadsheet nerd. I've got that amount from the Social Security website plugged in to kind of help me figure out how much I need to save. And the fact of the matter is that number is probably lower by 10%. So don't take this away. I'm trying to convince anybody to delay or take it early, just trying to provide the information. Last thing I'll say is I do appreciate the comments. If you have questions, if there's something that you would like me to talk about or look into, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to do that. I am going to put the little thing up there to do the like and subscribe. Again, it does help me grow the channel, and I will see you guys in the future.